Just make sure the volume's right here. Is everybody getting levels okay? We're here today to discuss legislative priorities on behalf of the City of Albuquerque. I'm going to hand things over to Mayor Tim Keller, who will break down this year's priorities. Mayor?
All right, thanks.
Okay, and for today, we do have our police chief here and also our director of housing and homelessness and a couple of folks kind of help put this package together. So first and foremost, I do want to welcome everyone to the VIC, the Veterans Integration Center. This is a brand new facility. It is the first of its kind, and it's been something that I know folks have wanted for at least 2 decades. And it's really full circle for me actually to be here. They were one of the first organizations I started working with when I was a state senator. Back then, they were at the old Sundowner before we redid it. And then you were at the old Circle K. And then you were at the Value Place or whatever other hotel was that. But anyway, now this is a place, look, it's for veterans experiencing homelessness and other challenges. And they have their own home. And this is in many ways because of city, county, and state capital outlay legislative requests that have made this happen. So we just want to appreciate the VIC for hosting us and also say congratulations on this amazing facility. So our legislative priorities this year are a surprise to absolutely no one. We are presenting a very focused approach from my administration that is basically just public safety, housing, and homelessness. Now, we'll kind of walk through what that means and what we're doing with respect to other projects. But at the end of the day, we have submitted to City Council or to the LFC and the state legislature our priorities. We have them all mapped out in various documents that we're going to be able to share with you and that are available to every legislator and actually the community as well. And it lists every single project that we've authorized and also our administration priorities. Now, in summary, basically, here's what our priorities are about. This has been a pivotal year in 2024 in Albuquerque, and what we saw is we are seeing a return on investment on some of these breakthrough initiatives that we have been trying for many, many years, in some cases decades. Finally, we are demonstrating that they actually work, and we've got to finish them, and we have to do more of them. And so I'm going to explain what that means. But for us, we're basically saying 2 things are true at the same time. We have challenges, but also we are breaking through with major ideas to combat those challenges. So we know what to do. We've just got to get people to invest at a scale that matches the scale of the problem. So for example, with our unhoused community, I think it was 10 years ago, we were housing about 200 people a night just during the winter at our old jail. Fast forward to today, we house about 1,000 people every single night and try and get them services. This is because of many things, including the gateway system that we have built. The gateway system has 5 locations. Yesterday, we just opened medical respite. We have medical sobering. We have a 24/7 drop-off. We have a women's shelter. We have our Gateway West, our overnight shelter. We're building a recovery center, and we're building a youth gateway as well. All of those latter things require additional funding to finish the job. But you can see us scaling up. When you have 5,000 people housed in our street, I need 5,000 beds available. In general, we have about 2,000. However, every night, starting about 6 months ago, there has been a bed available for anyone who wants it. But we know that we still have to be able to match that scale if everyone actually said yes. So the idea is pretty simple. We're just trying to double down on what works. And we know that these things are working and we need funding to support them. So we are asking for funding to support work at the Gateway Center in terms of our sobering efforts and our addiction treatment efforts and something called medical respite. We also know that we're asking for funding to help our micro community. This is where we're doing recovery and treatment at the old DMV building out on the freeway. That's going to be opening this spring, but we need to be able to provide services at that, and that's what we need funding for. We also know that we continue to need housing. At the end of the day, the answer is housing, whether it is helping control rent prices or whether it's actually providing shelter for folks that is permanent. And that's why we're also asking for a huge chunk of money to continue to buy old hotels or build affordable housing. So we did that. We demonstrated we could do it with the Los Altos Lofts, and we want to do more of it. That, by the way, is almost full. We were able to pull off that project in about 18 months. And so this is what we want to replicate and continue to do so throughout the city with our partners in the county and the state. Now, when it comes to crime, we announced our Metro Crime Initiative. That is about policies. We announced that about a month ago. And so we're very excited and appreciative that we hear from each level of state government, from the governor's office and our state legislature, that there's going to be a crime package and that we're prioritizing homelessness in the budget. This is excellent news for Albuquerque. And so we're very optimistic going into the session because we know these problems are so big, we can't face them alone. But we know with our partners, we know what to do. So if we partner up, we can actually match that challenge. And crime is no different. But here's an example. For example, the technology that we have now doubled the shot spotter coverage in our city, gunshot detection, from 10% to 20%. It should be everywhere. It should be the entire city covered. Every home should have, and every business, the same protection as all the other businesses. What we're demonstrating is that if you happen to be in an area where there is gunshot detection, where there are license plate readers, where there are APD cameras, we can actually fight crime in a much, much better way. And we have that in about 20% of the city. I want it in all of Albuquerque. And it's not even that expensive. For under $10 million, we can provide everyone the same kind of safety throughout the city, no matter where you live. That's what we want this session. We also know we need some basics like emergency response vehicles. We also know that we need, all the little things with respect to mobile surveillance units and smart cameras, all of these technology pieces, because our ability to fight crime right now is based on civilian support, which we've done an amazing job with our ACS department and with PSAs, transit police, also with open space police. All of these are extremely helpful. The other force multiplier is technology. And so even when it comes to those speeding cameras, we thought people wouldn't like them, and we get requests to have more all over the city. And that frees up our officers to actually fight violent crime. So our big asks this year are centered around that public safety technology. Okay, so I think with that, I do want to mention we are never going to forget stop signs, playgrounds, water fountains. So we have said yes to every small city council request in terms of authorizing it. So you will see thousands of projects that are authorized. That's a little different than the administration's priorities. I'm talking about the priorities because the legislature was very clear. They want to know our priorities. But we also understand if you live on a street corner that needs a street light or a speed bump or a playground, we respect that too. That is a priority for your neighborhood. That's why we are saying yes and authorizing all 1,000 plus of those projects as well. But again, we are being clear that if you have to choose, we want the priority to be public safety, housing, and homelessness. Okay, so with that, we are going to hand it over to our Director of Health, Housing, and Homelessness, Triple H, Gilbert Ramirez.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gilbert Ramirez, Director of Health, Housing, Homelessness for the City of Albuquerque. One, thank you for hosting us here at the Veterans Integration Center, and our thanks to those who have served our country. Spaces like this are so vital, not only to be able to say, for those of you who served who now may need additional support and services, this space can provide that. Our department was very proud to be able to be a partner in this initiative by investing about $1 million in the purchase of the land or the land acquisition to make this come to fruition. And I think this is just a prime example of being able to say that, if we invest the dollars with the partners, that we'll execute. And this is a prime example of that. Not only does this place allow the ability to serve those who were veterans and served our country, but also to address the individuals who might be on the verge of homelessness or unhoused, right? And those who might be unhoused. So it's comprehensive, and we need more spaces in places like this. So thank you again for that. As the mayor mentioned, for our priorities, we have done a lot in the last 8 months, I think, to be able to announce openings of items that were funded through a lot of partners, whether it was at the federal level, our state partners, and or through city council and our processes, or in collaboration with county funding. It is important to remember that in these last 8 months, we've announced 3 programs at the Gateway Center alone that have opened, which just shows that the investment in our ability in our department to execute and bring those services online is that we will execute and we will bring those online. It does take time, but if you know city government, that's lightning speed to be able to move things forward. And we continue to need that support to be able to address the issues. As the mayor mentioned, the Los Altos Laws was our very first attempt at a motel conversion to affordable housing units. It was a great project, and I believe I stood in front of that press conference at the time saying, this was the culmination of investment funds for us, and we executed on that by being able to say it's open. 81 of those units are leased, and the last remaining, I want to believe, 9 units are all in pre-leased conditions right now, so we're just finalizing their last pieces of the application, and it'll be full, which shows you there's a demand and there's a need. Now, I need to back up and kind of lay the landscape out in regards to why this is a priority, I think, for the administration, and I appreciate that leading this work. If you look at any city across this country, you will know that the prime indicator for the amount of unhoused folks that are going to need support is going to be based on the amount of affordable housing that exists within that city. Larger metropolitan areas, New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, they're facing challenges. Why? Because the affordability to live there does not exist, and therefore they have huge spikes in those who are unhoused. We need to do better in our city to be able to say that's a priority and that we invest in that to create the stock that's necessary to avoid that. That's upstream. Without a doubt, all the services that we're implementing at the Gateway Center continues to look at the intervention and the prevention services. So it is a spectrum. It's a continuum of where we need to continue to invest those services. So again, highlighting a little bit Gateway Network, not only was that facility acquisition a major one for the city and this administration, but it was a major one for the neighborhood that it serves. The International District for a long time has lacked resources, an infusion of resources, and we've now created a hub to be able to bring those. Not only have we invested in bringing medical sobering, the first medical sobering center, not only in our state, but there's about 60 in the nation. That's innovation and making sure that we're addressing the needs of our community well. Also opening the door, thinking ahead, that the entire state could benefit from centers like this. So how do we take that footprint and duplicate it in other areas of our state so that they have that resource and support? Medical respite, unhoused individuals exiting hospital who are injured, have had surgeries, who now have to go to the street to heal. They need a better place than that, and not to cycle in and out of expensive systems like hospitals and or take up a bed or an emergency a doctor who can serve other individuals if they had a place to heal. And we announced that yesterday, and we're moving forward with bringing that online. We also know that the sheltering beds that are there are very important, and our first responder drop-off. When we launched ACS, we knew a big gap in our community is where do you take folks from 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. Most agencies close their doors, right, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. First responder allows a quick response to that to say, bring them here, and we'll triage them, and in the morning, we get them connected to services. That is building a network, a safety net for individuals. For far too long, that net has had huge gaps, and people fall right through. We're tightening that net to be able to make sure that individuals don't fall through. We connect them to services when they need it and that they're available, and so we appreciate that. Now, back to our elected officials and why we're here today. We know that there's a lot of demands and asks, and we also know there's a big reserve of funding at the state level. What we hope to be able to say is if you invest in us, that we can execute and bring those projects to fruition, and we look forward to that support to be able to continue to do that work. So again, thank you. Thank you to the VIC for being such a great partner and the great work that you are doing. I understand from the notes that I had here that you all have had tremendous success in serving over 47 individuals since you've opened in August, and that's a credit to their work. And so again, my gratitude and thank you.
Thanks so much. And now for the public safety side, let's hear from our police chief, Harold Medina.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for everybody being here today. I want to start by thanking the legislature for the past. In December of 2017, I returned to the Albuquerque Police Department, and I challenge anybody to find a period of time where an administration has been able to get more money from the state coffers for law enforcement than these past 7 years that we've been with in office. I think it's important that we recognize that these make huge changes for the Albuquerque Police Department, and it has really led to a lot of big advancements. The Albuquerque Police Department is the largest police department in the state of New Mexico. It provides direct services to the largest populated area in the state of New Mexico. And we have made great advancements in a lot of areas, and one of the areas that sometimes gets overlooked is we have made the job safer for our officers to go home at the end of their shift because of the legislation, because of the funding provided by the state legislature. We have a new radio system, new CAD system, new records management system. We have two. We're waiting on delivery of a second helicopter to help our officers during some of the most crucial times. This would not be possible without the past actions of the state legislature. And once again, we're going to be asking for funding to assist us. Some of the things that we have benefited from the past is, when I took over as chief, we had nearly a 55% clearance rate in homicides. This year, we finished once again, third year in a row, in the mid-90s for clearance rates. For a city of our size, there are very few that can produce those numbers as we're producing with the Albuquerque Police Department. But a lot of this has to do with technology. And I'll take us down a little trip over some horrible things that have happened in our community, that technology was the key to solving those crimes. We had an individual child killed at a crosswalk in the city of Albuquerque. That was the first biggest success we saw with the use of cameras. We tracked the offender from Louisiana and Central as they entered the roadway through the entire city of Albuquerque to where the incident occurred, and beyond that, we were able to recover the vehicle and hold people accountable because of the technology and the advancements in cameras that we experienced as a city. A few years ago, not too far from here, I got a phone call late one evening that a child had been murdered as they were leaving Isotope Stadium. I got there that night, and as I got the initial brief and we had photographs of the vehicle at two different intersections, I had no doubt that that case would soon be solved because of our technology and our ability to use cell phone technology to track down the offenders. And sure enough, with the assistance of New Mexico State Police and other items that fell into place, we were able to hold individuals and charge individuals on those cases. Day in and day out, the families of victims who lose their life are the beneficiaries of justice being served because of the technology that we've been able to implement. So we're not only able to bring victims' families justice because of the technology advancements within the Albuquerque Police Department, we're also able to keep our officers and first responders as safe as possible because we're outfitting them with more information, more real-time data, and more information as to what they're walking into than any other time frame. And I think it's important that we recognize this is not just about funding the Albuquerque Police Department. This is about helping mothers, fathers go home each and every day to their families because we have provided them with the most updated technology to keep them safe at work. We're also helping grieving families ensure that they have a sense of justice at the end of the day and that we're able to take individuals to jail. And we will continue to work with our state legislators. And like I said, I want to thank them because they have been very generous to the Albuquerque Police Department. We have another ask. Mayor is absolutely correct. Every citizen in the city of Albuquerque should benefit from ShotSpotter. Every aspect of the city of Albuquerque, we should be able to have a video recording during a critical incident of what is occurring to make sure that we bring justice to families. Our officers deserve the latest technology that's going to tell them who has a gun, which direction they went, and the dangers that they're going into. So please help me help our officers ensure that they go home safe each and every day, and help me have victims' families have that sense of justice. And technology has been the biggest game changer and has set us apart from other agencies within the state of New Mexico. Recently, I heard of an article where the LFC was talking about the dismal clearance rates across the state of New Mexico for violent crime. Years ago, I was challenged that in order for us to be a successful police department, we should increase clearance rates on homicides. We accepted that challenge, and through the help of financing from the state, we were able to make those differences. We could continue to advance on the fight against crime through continued support and funding to increase our technology. Thank you.
We will be sending out a press release with more details here this afternoon, and we can answer a couple questions. We've got just about a minute or two for questions.
Chief, you mentioned both cases for Sergio Almanza and Froilan Villegas. How do you think those cases or investigations would have played out if the department didn't have the technology they currently had at the time? Or how would have it differ if it had better technology?
I can tell you that prior to me becoming chief, we had a 55% clearance rate. That meant there was a 50% chance that you could murder somebody and get away with it. And I like to think that those two cases, we're able to clear them because of technology. I know the role that technology played in those cases. I know the role that increased training played in those cases. And I don't know if we would have found justice for those families without technology. And it's not just those two cases. There's several cases that we've been able to solve because of the use of technology. And there's several times that officers have been protected by us being able to give them real-time data of what situation they're going into. So without a doubt, I know that technology has made a big difference in our ability to keep the citizens of Albuquerque safe and to keep our officers safe.
And any other questions?
I do have one question for the mayor.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, we've seen the homelessness issue for years in Albuquerque, and we've done things from opening up hotels to house them, to closing down parks, to separate them from certain parts of the city. How do we ensure the funds that you guys will be receiving from legislature will tackle this problem moving forward?
So, look, all across the country, we've seen an 18% increase in homelessness. And so we know this issue is getting worse all around us. The difference is, in Albuquerque, we've actually been working on this in a major way for several years. And so we're actually better positioned than most cities. But we have to finish the job. We have to finish the investment required to utilize the spaces that we've built. And so when you think about what our director just mentioned, we opened 50 beds for medical respite. We opened 50 beds for sobering. And we're about to open another 50 beds, additional shelter beds. And we're redoing our West Side shelter that takes care of 600 people every night. I mention that because we can scale now. That's the difference. We know what we're doing. We know there are 1,000 people in our care almost every night. We want to make that 1,500, 1,200, and we have the facilities. It just takes the investment to hire the contractors to run it and to finish the build out. So for us, we can show a return on that investment now within a year, whereas before we were just starting from zero. So it's about expanding what we've built. That's what this funding is for. And it's a similar story with housing. So we've built 2,500 houses in the last several years, or units of housing. And we have a 20,000 unit housing shortage. So we kind of know what we're doing with respect to hotel conversions and doing affordable housing. But instead of, 10 facilities, we need 20. And so that's why we're confident that if we get this money, we're going to be able to get it to where it matters. So we're literally being able to take people off the street and get them the services they need and also get them into a home. We're now doing that. We weren't several years ago. We just have to do it more, and that costs money. That's why we need that investment.
And as I said, we'll send out a press release later. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and we can help with that however you need. So thank you guys for coming.
Oh, yeah, and if you want to learn more about the VIC, they're here for questions.
They are here as well.
Show and tell on the Veterans Integration Center. Just want to introduce the crew there. I know we didn't want to take too much of your time, but this facility is an example of how we can deliver when it comes to helping people. That's why we chose this location. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And we do have a model